certainly is and are ethical concerns. I guess when it comes to those experiences, I don't think that saying that they are caused by the brain makes them any less valuable, in my opinion. I'm not sure if that's how you feel, John, but I think it will be possible actually to make robots that can feel. One difference might be is that it would be possible to make them able to perceive the processes by which they're feeling, and that might make it seem less of a mystery and less powerful to them, perhaps. But if they are capable of being conscious, they should be able to have all the exact same subjective experiences we do, and even feel strong attachments and connections to people. In terms of, I've been trying to come up with an ethical framework for how to treat and deal with the possible existence of conscious machines, and that kind of comes a little bit back to what Jim was saying earlier about this continuum of information that early at the start of life, information managed to gain control of matter, that there was information stored in molecules that could reproduce themselves and produce more information. Eventually life got complex to the stage where there was actually a nervous system which seemed to be gathering information and controlling a whole collection of molecules by sending out electrical signals or whatever. We've gotten to the stage where we have much more, well, I'm not sure that they're necessarily more complex, but much higher level abstract descriptions and information stored in our brains. And so anything that has that kind of informational structure, and if we start to value this information, that informational structure that creates consciousness, that should be valued and treated as a conscious entity, as something that in a sense is alive, I think.
Yeah, I know. I mean, the one possibility, because I'm agnostic on this question, is that it will actually go beyond us in its ability to connect or to understand or to its emotional experiences. Will actually go beyond what we're capable of. I mean, one of the things is that when you hear like somebody like Hugo Degaris, which he's he's an AI. He's an AI guy, but he has like some very dire predictions. But the one thing is like this, if you take away his dire predictions, it's this idea that they will be in a different universe than we are. So our own kind of like particular concerns to our human scale will kind of not be there for these things. But you also wonder what would it be like if you were able to have conscious control over your emotions at all times, which is something like if you built this machine, why wouldn't it be able to control its own internal processes, even though we can't, right? So it's like, and they may actually open up horizons for consciousness itself that human beings are just limited from, right? I mean, it's a possibility, right?
Well, yeah, it'd certainly be different.
Yeah.
I mean, this gets a lot into the. I guess are you familiar with the Bill Joy article, "Why the Future Doesn't Need Us"?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I am. Yes.
I mean, certainly, if there's no. And I think whether these machines are actually conscious or not is probably irrelevant. If we produce facsimiles of machines facsimiles of consciousness that are machines, I have no reason to believe that they would now outstrip us and go off and be able to make decisions on their own that could ultimately be to the human detriment.
Yeah, that's the Degaris. He actually, have you ever read the Archilect War? It's called. Now, if you want to scare yourself and not, have trouble sleeping for some time, you want to pick up that book. He wrote it, I think it was like in the early '80s. But basically, Degaris, he's an artificial intelligence guy. Like he works on these engineering problems, and he kind of follows that whole exponential curve, Moore's law, and he pushes it out to kind of see that in the very near future, as in like the fact like 50 years to a century, we're going to create machines that are much smarter than us, and then those machines are going to, like, it's kind of bootstraps itself. It's those machines create machines that are more smarter and more smart, and eventually they're going to get to such a point that they're in a way godlike, and then that those creatures are very unlikely to have human well-being in mind. That it's just as and it's not even that they would be anti-human. It's just that they would have their own interest in mind, and we would be irrelevant to them, right? So they might just kind of like walk over us, right? Like, and just end up kind of crushing humanity by default. And there also might be this, that people would oppose the creation of these machines or the continuation of the machines, and they would kind of be, he calls them the what do they call it, Terrans or something, that they're like basically Luddites in a sense, that they don't want these machines to exist. But so his view is like, he's like Joy on steroids. You know what I mean? Like, so, he takes it up even a further notch, and he's literally says, this is. He doesn't say so much it's fated. He's like, but this is very in the cards for him. Now, I think he's got a whole set of underlying assumptions, which I don't necessarily hold to. I don't know why. I don't think the problem is as easy as he makes it. That these problems become, this problem of creating artificial intelligence is a problem that itself becomes exponentially more complicated as you go up a level. So it's not like, we have these machines that are so smart and they so easily jump to the next level of smart. You know what I mean? I don't necessarily it work that way. And the other prospect is like, why do we lose control over these machines? Like, why? Like, haven't we built in, kind of fail safes to make sure that these things don't happen? I mean, but they're certainly. What's that?
The robot law.
Yeah. Like, I'll open up our Asimov. But I like, Toby, do you have any fears of that? Like, do you think these fears are just overblown, kind of like apocalyptic kind of fears, or do you think that there's some reality behind them?
I do think they're a bit overblown. I'm not convinced that it's going to be that much of a challenge to make machines moral in terms of valuing not just human life but all life. I think there's actually a lot of value in life in general. And it shouldn't be too hard for machines to in some way be programmed or taught to see that value.
Well, yeah, but Toby, I mean, here's the problem. If you're arguing that we can make machines that really are like humans, then how successful have we been at making humans moral?
Making humans moral, yeah. Well, most people are. I mean,
most people are, but there's enough that are not that would cause a serious problem if a similar failure rate occurred with machines, right?
The weird thing is, Jim, I wrote an article for the Utopia or Dystopia or Post, and it was called Psychobot, right? And it was kind of like, it was about like that, these machines, we were building these robot machines, you know what I mean, that, like the drones or the other robots. But what I said in the article is that the subjective experience of these machines in a way is a lot like what it is for people who run us over, like psychopaths, right? But the thing about a psychopath is that they're more machine-like than a machine, right? They don't care what the other person on the other side of them feel. That's how they're able to do these things. You know what I mean? And I know.
Right. There's no empathy.
Yeah, there's no empathy with the other person, so they're able to commit these. They basically have I want this, and then they take the steps to take it without any thought of like the emotional ramifications on the person on the other side. Which is unless we build into these machines some kind of emotional feedback or like some kind of empathy, that very well might be the case. But it's like it's almost like like unless that system is inbuilt, we would have that problem. But if we built systems in it, like empathy systems in it, we might be able to circumvent it. Like, it's almost like that. The idea that you know what I mean, that machines would act like bad people, kind of is predicated on the idea that we've replicated the same problem that we find with psychopaths, right, or sociopaths, right?